Okay, we're recording. So I'm sorry, I wasn't looking when I asked. Did either of you see the topic for today?
Yeah, I've got it on my other screen here. I'm kind of looking over it right now.
Okay, well, we don't have to look at it right now. I posted a little study aid there for you in case you came across it last night or earlier this morning. But that's my suggestion for the talk today. Mind awake, body asleep. The mind awake, body asleep state. Its purpose, its function, how it's used for out of body experience, etc.
So this focus 10 is just the state. I wonder how's he getting the title for that?
Okay, first, Anton, we can't see your face. I can only see your neck. And so it's too late to read. We will just have to wing it. I'm sure anybody who's aware of the out of body experience is familiar with the mind awake, body asleep state. That essentially is the out of body experience. You let the body fall asleep while the mind stays awake. Yes? Is this familiar to either of you?
Yeah, and I've got it on the HemiSync, the Monroe Institute stuff. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I've had a couple of tries at it. And that's what I was trying when going to bed, was to keep my mind going, just relax the body till the body goes to my mind and just stay aware sort of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm familiar with it.
This is the process of going out of body and what let's just call them areas that the awareness will pass through until it's somewhere else, let's say, not in the physical.
Yes, I was working on the body sensations. I was managing to get it to move up my leg and try and get my whole body just to get into the vibration state up into that. That's what I was trying to do, just try to disconnect from the body when I was practicing that. I've never achieved it, but I'm still I've practiced it.
This would be a different process than the mind awake, body asleep, which is simply remaining aware, not trying, not doing, not attempting to get anywhere, just keeping your awareness steady. It is a state of pure observation. So you're not going to try to do anything with the energy sensation. You're not going to take your attention there. What I do is I hold my awareness at the brow. And I pay attention to the fact that I'm breathing. Those two things with the basic position we're assuming, which in yoga we call shavasana. It's just a horizontal supine laying down position. Okay. And staying in that state. In yogic terms, the mind awake, body asleep state is called pratyahara. It's, in the stages of yoga, when you begin with the yamas and niyamas, the do's and don'ts of the world, that sort of keep you in right alignment. And then you move to the body and you do the body postures. And then there's the breath, and you do the breath work and breathing patterns and energy work. And as we're passing through from there, we enter into a range called that the yogis call pratyahara. And this, he said, it's just a state of pure peace. It's wonderful, and it's very synonymous enough with the mind awake, body asleep stage. As we pass through there, we get into the dharana and dhyana, the contemplation and meditation, pure meditative state. And then into samadhi. And so the yogis have their own terms for these in the process of moving through. And in the contemporary world, which is more focused in consciousness arenas and spiritual arenas on the out-of-body experience, then the language has all changed. And so the quote, focus 10, as Monroe labeled it, mind awake, body asleep, is simply this, just in more contemporary terms. Is that making sense so far? Do either of you have any experiences of being in this state? Have any of you consciously gone out of body? No, not yet.
No, I lost. I just kept losing consciousness. I was doing it at night time though. I just pass out. So I was doing the energy work, but then I would do visualization. So I just sit in the place I visualized and just try to drift in there. I tried to keep my awareness sit there, but I just kept on.
Well, at a certain point in the mind awake, body asleep state, the visuals will turn on. But without first getting, well, I will just keep calling it the mind awake, body asleep state, then, like you say, you generally pass out of consciousness. And so the way that you would go about practicing this, one, is not in the bed. Because what do we use the bed for? What's the greatest concept we associate with the space we call our bed? Sleep, right? And that's not what we're going to do. That's not what we're wanting to do. But when we get into the bed, we've already trained ourselves to, when we get in that spot, that's what we're going to go there to do. So this would be highly disadvantageous to ourselves if what we're wanting to do is practice a conscious out of body. So creating a separate space would be more ideal. So getting a yoga mat or a rug or something and devising a space on the floor, and or using your bed in a different way. You know, putting your head down at the foot of the bed when you're going to practice OBE, not using a pillow. You know, and when you're going to bed, put your head at the head of the bed where you normally do and use a pillow, so that you train your body to know that when my head's down here and the pillow's gone, I'm working, I'm practicing, I'm consciously going to go out now. And you're more apt to hold the awareness for longer. And while you're here, the idea is to make observation. If you're not making observation, then you'll fall off into nothingness. There'll be no identification. And when there's no identification at all, we've just fallen into an unconscious state. So the observation here is rather critical. I'll tell you how it started happening for me. It started happening for me quite naturally, well before I was going out of body, well before the activation to awaken in 2009. So I would notice it most strongly during the years, just right at the turn of the century there, 1999 going into 2000. I'm coming into a place in my life where I'm taking my yoga practice to now becoming a teacher. And I'm sort of in this stage. And I would just be in my room practicing. And my whole life was about yoga and practice. So I was either on the yoga boards writing or talking to people about yoga, or I was actively practicing yoga when I wasn't having my meals or being at the gym, which at that time was an everyday occurrence, or going to bed. Yeah, it was all about yoga. And I would just, how can I say this? During these years, Shavasana was one of my main practices. It always has been. I have always been a horizontal type of person. It's almost hilarious. It's just, my body does not do upright like it does horizontal, and it never did. And so I always had this high attraction and high capacity for being able to practice Shavasana, which is called dead man's pose. And so I would just lay down and I could be there like for 3 hours, no problem, just in a perfect place of peace. And I would notice that I could get about 90 minutes in before my heels would start to fall asleep. My body wasn't open enough to lay down on the floor without some points in the body, becoming more hurting. And then after that, if I just let it continue, and I generally did, I would fall off. I would notice I could only make it to that 90-minute point. And this is where I learned the 90-minute magic point. But in that 90 minutes, quite a lot would happen. I would all of a sudden just realize that there were certain sounds that should be there that weren't anymore. For instance, there'd be a clock in the room and it had a second hand, and the tick of the second hand of the clock should be there. But it wasn't, I would be listening and listening and listening and listening and listening, and it wasn't there. It should be there. And I didn't know what that was back then. I just made the observation. I would mention it to people and they wouldn't know what I was talking about generally back then in those years with the people that I knew. And so that's how it began happening. And that's how it does happen. You begin to let go of your sensory, the sensory input is gone as soon as the eyes are closed, as we're highly visual. But as you go in, more of your visual sensations, or sensory sensations, I should say, begin to dissipate, to vanish. And you can observe them going away. But then another thing that I began to notice was certain sounds that shouldn't be there were. And again, I had no idea what this was, but this was just one of the things that happened in that mind awake, body asleep state before I would drop off. Anything like this happen with you? Sitting in meditation?
With me, I lose time. I lose time. I lose big chunks of time. I've noticed when I'm doing my practice. The last time that happened, I was actually doing one of those trance poses with the drums, and what I thought just 5 minutes, and I thought, man, I'm going to struggle to hold this pose for the full 15 minutes. And before I knew it, the drum call was on. It went by just like that. I seem to get into a state and just lose time just very quickly. Sometimes meditation, I thought, oh, that's maybe about 10, 20 minutes, and it was an hour later, it's chunks of time I lose on any effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going outside of time, or in other words, into an out-of-body experience, but not consciously. Yeah.
No, I don't realise. No, it's not until I check. Like I got a shock. What? I've lost a big chunk of time.
Yeah. So, do either of you have any intention or want or desire to practice the conscious OBE and making it to that mind awake, body asleep state? Anton, I know you're practicing your dot practice. And James, I know you practice with the energy, but this is very different, and it's not going to as immediately get you into an OBE.
I don't know how you rate lucid dreaming and all this, but before I get to that, I'm curious what sounds you've heard, because I got to the point where I've heard, rushing water before in meditation. To the point where I heard rushing waters, but I haven't gotten too many other sounds. I haven't gotten to violins or some other bells or stuff, like kind of bells a little bit, not much. I was kind of wondering what you've managed to hear out there.
I generally begin hearing voices, people talking. And then I come into the room where the people are talking, and I'll be point consciousness. They won't be able to see me. I'll be an orb form. And I just observe. So I'm put into spaces a lot to observe the activities that are happening there. And that's mostly what will happen. But if you're talking sooner, like when I'm in that focus 10 space, going out of body, I hear all kinds of weird things. I will hear hammer strikes. That was a big one with me. These, like, what I call them, whirly sounds. I don't know if you ever had one of those toys when you were a kid, but you just spin them around like this and they would make a sound. I don't know what else to call them. Just these whirly sounds. Yeah.
I know what you're talking
But it'll all be different. It's been some time since I was going out of body like every day, where I would, have more chance to notice these. Now it's different for me, because now in my waking state, I'm when you go out of body, and you go out of body regularly a lot, what happened with me was, the more I went out, the less I came all the way back into standard physical space. So the more I went out, the more I brought that with me when I came back. So my brain waves are in different patterns now. The configurations are very different. I have a higher alertness, awareness, and sensitivity to a lot more of the fields right here all the time. And all I have to do is pay attention. And I notice when I'm not paying attention, everything's starting to feel really heavy. I can feel the weight of my body, whereas normally I don't. Things like this. So now it could almost be said I'm in a state that's not that quite, but it's not this quite either. It's sort of an in-between place. So for me to shift out of body, what I'm saying is not hard. I'm already attached to it. I'm already there. It's already right here. So all I have to do is close my eyes and go in. And I'm doing it right now, and I can feel my patterns shifting, and I can feel the energies changing in my body system, and it's very fast. And just a moment, because I really wanted to go in there. Come back. I'm not separated from it anymore, I suppose is what I'm saying. There's not a great distance between the state I'm in right here, right now, and that state. It's very easy for me just to shift in and shift out. But when I shift into physical space, I'm not in the same physical space as, I'm going to say, most other people. A very different, very different space. I'm aware of the earth life field, but it's a very different space. It's a different brainwave I'm using when I'm here. Hey, I've never tried to describe this before. Maybe that will be the next thing that I write on, so I can see it more clearly. So those are some of the sounds that I hear. Those two, the hammer strikes and those whirly sounds were two of the main ones that I would hear when I was passing through the Focus 10 area.
You see, the problem I've got with trying to do other practices is that the sensation in my forehead is a 24/7 thing, and it just pulses. I can't take my awareness or focus someone else, because that is so intense in my head. Even right now, talking to you, that's right there. I can't take my awareness anywhere else because it's so prominent. I struggle to take my awareness off it any other way, because it's so intense. The pressure is continuous. So it's hard to take my awareness anywhere else. That's why I was trying to work with it, trying to spread it or something, because I can't do anything else, because it's just it's prominent all the time.
Can't do anything else other than what? Meaning you can't live your day, you can't...
I mean, I can't take my awareness without that there. That's a continuous thing. So if I tried a different practice, that's just continuous. If I try and just relax my body, that's just continuous.
You don't have to take your awareness away from here to feel more than there. you'll feel there and somewhere else. But what you're doing, as far as I can tell from what you're saying, is you're isolating the whole of your awareness in the one location to the exclusion of the rest of yourself. Such
It's
as,
not like I put an awareness on it. It's just there
Energy.
constantly without me thinking about or even focusing on it. That's just it's just continuous. I can't shift it.
right,
I
but
can't even
then
switch it off.
you say that you're unable to shift it, you're unable to spread it, you're unable to bring awareness into other areas. Is this accurate? I'm repeating you as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's the most intense. But my hands will, if I lie in like the dead man's pose, with my hands up, my hands will be doing the same thing. But not as intense. But my forehead's, that's just intense all the time. So that's just constantly all the time. I try and shift. I try and like bring my awareness elsewhere in my body, but that just
What is it
that's
you're
just
trying
problem.
to know? What is it you're trying to do? What is it you're trying to figure out? You're telling me this. You're telling us this right now, but I don't know why.
You're talking about the mind awake, body asleep technique, and I'm just saying I've got a problem trying to attempt that because that's so prominent. I can't get into different techniques. It's difficult for me just to maybe just lie and be aware because that'll just be that
Well, that is your awareness
sensation.
center that you're pointing to. This is your awareness center. And although we point to that place in the body, it's not in the body. It's actually enormous and it encompasses the entire body and a lot more of the space around you, even. So I would say to learn to take your awareness out into the center itself and feel the whole of your body inside of that, not the other way around. Right now it feels to me as though you're saying you're feeling a tiny space inside your physical body, and yeah, that might get annoying.
Yeah, it buzzes and it's almost if it goes in maybe an inch inside my skull and it's just it moves like that. I can feel it actually buzzing and just almost pulsating just in my head, but it's just isolated here and pressure down my nose. I can feel sometimes pressure going straight down here, pushes down my face. I just sit like that. I can't.
But are you wondering anything? I'm going to let James take over because I'm not sure where to go with this or how to guide you here or where the conversation might go with what you've said, because I still can't figure out what it is you're saying exactly. Are you saying you can't do mind awake, body asleep because the sensation is too strong? What are you? Give me some torque.
Yeah, I would say that I can't do that technique because that's so prominent. I can't take my awareness anywhere else because that will stay there. I can't distract myself in a way because that will be there.
In mind awake, body asleep, your awareness isn't going anywhere. It's not doing anything. Other than staying what it is, which is aware. It's not a place in your body. Your awareness is not a place in your body.
So what do I do with it then? Am I just going to lie there in that pose and just be aware of the sensation? Just see what
not
happens?
Be aware of anything. Be aware. Be aware. Be aware. Be aware. Don't fall asleep. Be aware. Be aware. Not of anything. Just be aware. And I could just keep saying that for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and you would probably have an easy time with it. If you held on to my voice within the command, and so you might try that sort of command yourself. I would myself, because if it's not a feeling that is larger than a specific location inside my body, then yeah, this is going to hold me in physical space. So your awareness is an area that's larger than your physical body. In fact, it includes all that is. It's huge. Your awareness is huge. Your body is like a pinpoint that's not even identifiable, and the spot that's right here in the brow, even minutely smaller than that. And so your awareness of it, can grow to be quite tiny. I'm not saying to lose awareness of anything. I'm just saying being aware is the point here. Not falling asleep, being aware. Not taking your attention to any one thing, being aware. And immovable, unmoving until the body falls asleep. And you'll notice the body will do its little routine with you. It'll give you an itch on your cheek or something to, test and see if you're awake or asleep, because it doesn't know. So it runs through these little tests. And, if you take your hand and scratch, it's like, oh no, he's still in his conscious state of mind. And, it's not time to fall asleep yet. And it will stay in its alert state. And so you can't move. But then you have to work with the sensation. You have to not give the sensation your attention. You have to let yourself know it's going to go away in 10, 9, 8. Don't move, resist moving with all of your being, resist moving. Because the body will only fall asleep when it's comfortably assured that you are out of your conscious mind, out of that beta brainwave. Yeah. And it does this for your own protection. But okay. If you be aware, and I like to add to this because this is what helps keep me aware, be aware of the fact that I'm breathing. Then that gives me the awareness and the energy. Now I've got my awareness and my energy in the same field. It's synchronizing, it's becoming a one thing, awareness and energy. And I just keep my awareness there.
So is there a way that I can use that sensation just to just be aware, then is there a way just to go out through the sensation sort of thing?
Can I say something?
Yes. Are you going to answer James's question though?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it will or not. I just want to give him something that may or may not help. I have sinus pressure to a small degree a lot, especially in the winter. And sometimes when I'm trying to meditate, that's still there. But sometimes I like soak into the grain of the sensation. I don't know how to say it any better. Like instead of like resisting and tensing around the sensation, which may be somewhat applicable to this bubbling up of energy you're seeing, but instead of reacting to it in a tensioning way, I turn into it and penetrate it. And it kind of relieves the pain. It's like soaking into the grain of the pain. I don't know how else to put it. But I like soak into the experience, and it somewhat nulls it out. So rather than tensing up against that bubbling up, try to penetrate it. Would be my suggestion.
That's what I was trying to thinking. Can I use it? Can I just use it somehow? It's constant. If I do a meditation, if I do any sounds, that'll just intensify. So I'm trying to say, can I just drift out with it or something? Some kind of technique, some difference with it. I've no idea. I can only try different things and ask you guys.
You might try the spin on the ceiling thing.
I've not tried that one yet. I've gone on.
If you want to move your awareness somewhere else, just put it there for a second. What would it be like right up against that spot? You know, if I was like 2 inches away from that spot.
That's what
But
I mean. It's so difficult to
I
keep
really
my
like what
awareness anywhere
Anton
else.
said. I think we should go into that a little bit more. That was an excellent description. I know exactly what you're saying. Did you get the gist also, James?
Yeah, it's just using it, just going in, yeah.
So is that something in all these years that you've ever tried?
No, this only started when my awakening experience tried, and for the past 2 years or so, it's been intense.
Yeah,
Over the
that's
last few
years.
months, it's 2 years,
So
yeah.
in those years and all that time, have you ever tried that? What
No,
have
I've just
you
been trying
done?
to figure out what it is, what's going on, and I start learning about the spiritual techniques and the chakras and all the rest of it. So, okay, that's it. I'm trying to work with the third eye and blah blah blah. But it's just, it's getting more intense. But I've never tried many techniques. I've
Balance.
no idea.
Balance. There's two aspects to practice. One element is the study, and the other a practical application or practice. And James, I think you're top heavy on the study.
Yeah, I've been cutting back.
And not so much, you're not practically applying, you're not going into any practices. And I know that you don't focus your attention that way very well, but it's mandatory if you want to get anywhere with anything, because the practices put the energy in a parameter in which you're going to play with it in a particular way. And that's how you learn. But without doing that, you never do. You just sort of have words and books and things people have written and ideas, but no application of any of that. And so you have to pick a practice, and it's got to be a practice that you're going to do at least twice a week, and work your way to where it's 5 times a week, working your way to where it's just now a daily part of your life, and it's something that happens every day.
I do have forms of qigong. So I sit there with qigong. I'm sitting there. I can move it into my hands. If I sit in my chair, my head, my hands, my feet buzzing. I'm just trying to shift, trying to get my whole body to intensify. So I'll do the hand exercises. I'll do that. I can make energy bubbles and stuff. Bring it right out. I still do that energy practice, but it's the same feeling as my head. So I'm trying to just intensify and see if I can achieve something with it. That's my practice because of the sensations.
My question to you then would be, is this a formal practice, something that you specifically set time aside for every day, and that you have a special area that you go to do? How formal is this practice? Or is this just something that, when it's comfortably coming to you, you just naturally begin doing?
Most of the time I'm just sitting here, maybe do something, but most of the time I'm sitting here, I'll just sit and do that. Most of the time I'm sitting like that, most of the time, to be honest, I'm sitting like that.
My suggestion to you is to make the practice a formal practice.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that means?
Set a time, just set times for it or something, stage it through with a set time to sit like that throughout the day, sort of thing.
A formal practice is a practice, one, you're going to take seriously. You're going to do it deliberately, and you're going to do it for a specific purpose, in a specific place, for a certain amount of time. So you're going to put a parameter on it. And it's that parameter that is going to allow you to play with it in a way that you can learn something from. For instance, one of the things that I learned when I began practicing was that unless I practiced beyond that 90-minute point, pretty much only the same thing happened all the time. I never got beyond the point I already was. And so, but if I wasn't practicing a lot, I would have never even come to that awareness. Right? So it was putting it in a parameter that taught me something. And so that's what we want to do. We don't want to just the practice should be comfortable. It should be something that you want to do, that you look forward to doing, you know. But then we're also going to put it in a parameter. Okay. So, like, I'm going to practice this for 30 minutes. I'm going to practice this while asking myself the question, fill in the blank.
I do ask all the time what this means and why I get a sensation. I'm trying to figure out what the purpose of the damn thing is. I don't know. I know it's the energy of some kind, but I have no idea.
Give another,
I do keep asking.
can I give another amateur suggestion? That is, you seem like you do a lot of good body work and you get a lot of good body energy going, you know, and internal astral and physical energies flowing and all that, which is great. But maybe try a different focus. Maybe try a pure spiritual type thing, or maybe try just to think about a different place somewhere, you know, instead of being so body focused. Try something that isn't so body focused, like, you know, a different place over here, you know, or the corner of the bedroom or whatever, you know. I want to be looking at the corner of the bedroom.
This is an exceptional idea because we're talking specifically about out of body experience and getting out of body. And yes, the more you focus on your body, most people are already grounded in their body, like they can't get out. And so to put more awareness on the body just doesn't do anything for helping them get out. But if you're just enjoying the energy, being aware that it's there, not being too curious about what you could use it for, meaning not being curious enough to actually go out there and do something with it, tell people, oh, I'm a shaman. And, you know, start working as a shaman, you know. See, you're not doing anything with it yet. You need to, it's interesting because the more you begin to work with these things, the more you realize that we create these things out of thin air. We are creating our life experience out of nothing, and everything originally is created out of nothing. Everything begins void, and then there's an idea, a little spark of light. And that idea, you know, becomes manifest as a person who starts, you know, doing things and things like this. And the specific things that we create ourselves to be in our lifetimes are created by us as well. You have to take a stance. You have to say, I am, fill in the blank. I am an experiencer. I am an explorer of consciousness systems. I am a visual and vocal channel. Until I started saying that, it didn't start seeping into my body system enough for me to begin manifesting myself as that. So you have to fill in the blank. I am what? And then you have to write and talk to people, you know, on this subject and build a website around it. You have to keep stoking that fire. Light the fire, keep the flame alive. So you have to keep stoking it until all of a sudden it's just there. It's who you are, and you're like, whoa. But you say, you know, that energy that you're experiencing isn't anything in particular. It is what it is to you, and you get to say what that is. So you have to say. This is fill in the blank. And if you want your guidance system to assist you in filling in that blank, then you have to go in and ask for your guidance system to help you fill in that blank. I am going to practice today with this energy for 30 minutes, going in and asking my guidance system to help me fill in the blank. This energy is what? And then when you come out of that practice, and I mean literally on a piece of paper, you're going to do this. That's how you start to ground it here in this reality. And then you fill in the blank, you know, this is what I got today. And then you'll feel that. And does it feel right? And it'll either feel absolutely right or somewhat right, you know, and so that you do that practice with that intent each time. And each time you know, until you come out, until there's something on that line that you are so aligned with, you know that that's right. you know, and then you start manifesting yourself as it, with it, applying that into the reality somehow. Otherwise, it just is what it is without it really meaning anything. It's just there. Yeah, but you're not going to do anything with it.
So we can experience like the same energies, but those energy sensations could be a different meaning for each of us. That could be a different thing, even
Of
though it's the
course.
same kind of sensations, but it could be a completely different a different path you're going to walk down. All right, okay. So I'm trying to figure out. Unless I keep asking,
Of
I've never really
course.
got a clear answer what it is.
Center, it's always source energy. At the center, it's always the same. But what that source energy is to you in the current manifestation is what it is. And what it is to me, it is what it is. And I'm going to, you know, color the way I'm going to color with it. And you're going to color the way you're going to color with it. Hmm. Now, this is going away from mind awake, body asleep. And so I'd like to come back into it again, because sensations in the body don't stop you from entering the mind awake, body asleep state. In fact, you pass through it every night as you, quote, pass out. We're just wanting to go through it consciously.
I think the closest I got one morning was having sleep paralysis. That was quite an experience for your first time. I mean, you wake up, it's as if someone's pushed you into the bed and you're completely solid. Your whole body's got you can't working like fuck. That's interesting.
What's that
Yeah,
like for you, sleep paralysis?
I was just that first time. I didn't know to be scared at first or not, but it felt as if there was something on top of me pushing me into the bed. I literally couldn't move my neck or nothing. It was quite freaky at first, but once I relaxed, it just popped up. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not so
you
bad.
felt the lead blanket
Just that one time.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's not full sleep paralysis. That's but it's yeah, that lead blanket feeling. Okay. Well, that's one of the things that you can begin feeling as well. And that sensation changes into uh, activity. Some people will experience that activity as what they call the dweller on the threshold, as you're coming consciously from our field here into another visual field. You might find what they call the old hag, some kind of creature there on your chest, either choking you or trying to push you back in, something like this. Mm.
So is that the fear test thing? Is that when you're just about to go out your boys? You get is that the fear test that they talk about? Something just to test it, see if you're actually ready to go out the body. So it gives you a little test.
Yes.
Is that the same? That fear test? That the same thing? I hear a lot of folk talk about that. They're going to do it. They feel paralysis, but there's a being on top of them, something scary, scaring, terrifying life out of them. That's quite common. I hear that quite a lot.
Yeah. You can only pass into galactic space once the fear is gone, or gone to a degree that you're not going to harm anyone or anything with your fear. When we go into fear, we tend to lash out and fight and, go into fight and flight. Yeah. So you can't go out there, not into consensus space, unless you can pass the fear test. Yeah. If you can pass the fear test, then, you might make it into your bedroom. A lot of people stay for years and years and years just in their bedroom. They never get beyond their bedroom.
So if I just guides not just come in something pleasant, just help you, rather I'm scared, I'm trying to give you a fear test, scare the shit out of you, always just help you, just gonna show you things,
Because then
gently
they
show
would
you.
be helping your existing fear state into a place where there are other free will individuals. And what are you going to do to them when you see them and go into fear? A lot of people start fights. It's interesting, some of the energies that come up in these other fields and how they manifest. It's much quicker than how they manifest here. Like here, we can sort of push down our lower emotions and not act on them. But in those fields, can't do that.
Yeah, you think it happens, isn't it? It's instant.
It's instantaneous, yeah. So you could hurt someone. So no, you have to pass the fear test. You have to be able to have more awareness than fear. And that's what that is, yes.
I was just wondering why guidance just didn't just kind of take you about and just kind of hold you as you get presented with things, hold you to get used to it. I think most people, once they get used to seeing it, they'd probably calm down. The fear would probably go. I'm just terrified.
Well, that's what's happening here. Have you ever gotten through it here? So it's happening in your dream state every night. In the private fields where you can't hurt any other actualized being. Yeah.
I actually got the bear one. I think I just spoke to you one day about bears. I just get dreams about bears chasing me. And that very night, I got a bear. I got the bear one again. It fucked up that kind of fear test. But I don't actually the same way. I was trying to hide from it. I was trying to hide from it.
Me too. I think he froze. Did everybody freeze? Here you go. I didn't know if it was your computer or mine because Anton was not saying anything either. Okay, so who wants to get curious into the mind awake, body asleep specifically?
Well, you're making a differential here between that passing consciously into that state rather than a lucid dream type experience. Am I correct?
Consciously through it, yes. Practicing mind awake, body asleep. Lying down, keeping the attention alert, and for some time. Watching, witnessing, observing the process. Is there any inclination on either of your parts?
Sure. Never, I wouldn't say never, but so many different degrees of experience.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because James has been playing with his energy sensations for years, and you've been doing your dot meditation and other practices for some time, but these won't get you out of body. To practice going out of body, you have to practice going out of body, and that means laying down and going into the mind awake, body asleep state. So a lot of people will use hemisync with this, the binaural beats. So laying down with the binaural beats and going into the mind awake or through the mind awake, body asleep state and into an out of body state.
How did you come up with the nomenclature Focus 10 in particular?
I'm sorry?
I was wondering how he came up with the term Focus 10 out of...
That's Monroe. That's Robert Monroe. So Robert Monroe didn't want to use names for things that other people were already familiar with and had ideas about. So he just simply used numbers. He's a scientific type. And so he took numbers and, really intentionally not using numbers that meant things to people, like 1 and 3 and 7 and 12, and numbers that people, and 5. These are numbers that show up a lot in our world. 12 calendar months of the year. So he used numbers that he felt meant nothing specifically to people.
So there isn't a focus 8, 9, and 10.
No, these are just random numbers that don't mean anything in particular, until they do now, because focus 10 means what it means. It means the mind awake, body asleep state.
I think in the CDs I've got, it goes right up to about focus 49 or something crazy. I've got 6 CDs there. There's focus levels all the way up, different numbers all the way up. You go through 10, then you go through 10 into 12. Expanded awareness, that one. Expanding up. I can't remember what numbers came next. It goes right up the scale to about 49, I think it is. His program, anyway, he's got a full program there. That program goes all the way.
So you've worked with the hemisync?
Yeah, I've done the first CD. I've done 1 up to 10, practicing the 10, but I can't get past the sensation. A little bit of practice in that state, and I'm trying to expand to focus 12. It's just, it takes what you're talking about, just expanding out, expanding your consciousness out into your space. Just that would be focus 12, that one. So yeah, I've some practice with it. Yeah, it's just the body sensations getting in my way mostly.
What body sensations?
It's the head of it I'm talking about. That's just, it just goes in my way. I can't take focus anywhere else at the moment. So.
Is it like a bubbling of energy, or what? How would you describe it?
It can be, if it's very slight, it'll be a tingling. Then the tingling, I go to an internal buzzing sensation. And then I go to a pulsing pressure sensation. And it's pressure with tingling and buzzing kind of mixed in. It's a combination of those 3 sensations: tingling, buzzing, and pressure. But I don't get lights or anything. Sometimes I get little purple ones, but I don't get any visuals or anything. It's just a sensation, a pressure sensation, buzzing, tingling. That's what I get. And that's constant. I don't even think about it, and it's there constant. So.
I'd try penetrating it instead of tensioning.
I think that's a good idea. And what I was going to say is you can take your attention into more. I'm not saying to take your attention off of it. I'm saying take your attention into more.
I can't intensify it. It really gets, the pressure's unbelievable.
No, I would not intensify it. I would not why would you intensify it?
I don't know what to do with it. Do I play with it? Do I make it worse? Do I go? I'm trying to understand what Anton, what you're saying. Is just going through it or something, just using it and just going through it or something. But it's something I've never practiced before, so I don't know what I'm doing. So.
Play with it.
Yeah, just play with it. So I can do it. It's not going to go away.
It's composed of something.
Soak right into it. See if you can go right through it.
Not into the sensation. See, and this is why we have to be really, really clear. He's not saying go into more of the sensation of it. He's saying go into the molecular makeup of it.
How would you do that?
Yeah, you just go in. You have that intent.
So I've just been trying that's what I was saying to you, just going back to basics, just clear my mind, just lie there and just have the bigger thought and then just go. just all I can do is to see what happens. Not really think about anything.
One, you need to meditate more every day, and not paying attention to the sensations. So I think you want to give your attention to the sensation, and I think because you want to, you're giving a whole lot of your attention to it, and I think that's what's arriving you at the intensity level, the current intensity level of the sensation. And so you just need to revert now.
It doesn't even matter what I try, even when I breathe, if I breathe in through my nose, like that good whoop, that affects it a couple of breaths, first breath.
Because that's where you breathed into. James, don't breathe into that area. Breathe into your right big toe. What happened?
It's the same. Same.
No, you have to take, you have to shoot your attention somewhere else.
Even
Shoot
tried
your
that. Even tried the
energy.
thing with pinching my legs. So like you said, I did sit and pinch my leg. So I got a pain in my legs, and I started focusing on that pain, but that's still so prominent. Even though I can still feel it. I mean, you just need to practice more. I just need to practice on it. It's just when you're talking about the mind asleep stuff, that gets in my way doing that practice.
Mm-hmm. You have a whole body. If you can't feel your whole body, then we're in trouble. And we need to remedy this.
That's why I try and shift it. That's why I try and shift it into my hands, into my feet, and I try and get the whole body to go. But I want to manage slightly up my calves. But...
Yeah. Mm. Nothing I am saying is sinking in. We've been talking about this ourselves for quite many months now. What can I do to help?
But I'm trying to, I'm doing what you say. I'm trying to shift my awareness. I'm trying to awareness the whole body.
How many times
I'm trying.
How many times every day do you attempt one of the practices I've suggested? And
I do the breathing.
You don't have to say, this is for your own awareness, and this is why it's still not happening. But if you took something that I'm suggesting and you practiced it every day, right now we would be sitting here in a very different situation. I think something would have changed. Do you want it to change? Again, no answer necessary. I think I already know the answer because nothing's changed. So it's only when we want something to change that we allow it to. And so right now, you're holding tight to this for whatever reason it is that you are. And coming into the understanding of what that reason is will help you understand more about it also. But there is more. There's a lot more. I held tight to my OBEs. I wouldn't let them go. That's why they continued to happen every day for me for 4 years until, that had to stop to get on to the next part of what was supposed to happen, But if I would have forced that, and I could have, I wouldn't be here where I am now. I'd still be behind because I held on to what my little mind felt was important, So you have to be willing to let it go. And I don't mean get rid of it. I mean, let it go. Let go of the death grip on it. If it's still there when you let go of your death grip, then it's meant to be there. But it's like, James, it's like getting onto the train and carrying your own luggage. when you don't have to. You don't have to carry your own luggage. You can set it down. The train's going to take you and the luggage where it's going. Yes? And so let go of the death grip and see if it's still there. Most people have the death grip on the physical body and they won't let go of the death grip. That's why they can't get out of the body.
Just I never asked or tried for this. This is something that's happened by itself. I never tried it. And I wasn't even a spiritual person in the first place. I just came that way. I never knew anything about it. It
Most
just happened
people
like
don't
that.
understand that they're having a death grip on the physical body either. They're saying they're not doing this. This is just how it is. I'm saying it's not. You picked it up, you put it there, you picked it up and you put it there, and you're keeping it there. The sooner you realize, and we all are, because we're all creating ourselves and our life. Every little bit of it. Okay, so you put it there to give it your attention to something, and then you're keeping it there. And you may even be growing the sensation. It can be like a drug in that the more you do it, the less it works, you know.
So I think he doesn't have to push harder. I think he just has to do different.
Do something different. Yes. Yes.
And I think he's got to look at penetrating rather than pushing, you know, or rather than grabbing. A technique I really like for meditation, it's a real classic. I call it marionette strings, where you just relax all.
Oh, everybody's frozen again.
And all that. Just feel yourself relaxing that tension, you know, and penetrate it and relax, penetrate, not clench, you know, or resist.
That's the same. That's kind of similar to what the Monroe thing teaches about the you talk about the focus 10. That's the same kind of build up to that about tensing, then letting it go of the bodies, all up your body from your feet, your face, your head, your back, tensing and let it go. And that's kind of to do the same kind of thing. It's the same procedure.
Mm-hmm. Practice with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Practice doing something different with it. I mean, I know what it's like to be stuck, don't get me wrong. And the closer we are to our own stuff, you know, the more stuck we can be on. We just don't see. We're so close to the wall, we can't see. Yeah. But just do something different.
I'm trying to figure out what I'd be hanging on to, so I'm not bothered about the body or staying here. I don't understand why I would hang on.
Habit.
Maybe. There's nothing, I can't think of anything that holds me, to be honest.
Well, it's often better to feel something than to feel nothing. And when we ask for signs that there is something beyond the physical and we are given it, then a lot of times we might think, well, this is it, and there's not going to be another if I let go of this. I had that same thought the first time I fell in love. Well, it only happens once. If I let go of this, it's never going to happen again. Well, let go of it and you notice, yes, it does. That's a misnomer. And so, yeah, I would practice bringing attention somewhere else, you know, that your attention isn't normally, you know, and I would start with the body. You're talking about a very bodily sensation. And so I might even start to do tapping. You know what tapping is? Oh, research tapping.
I would also say, you know, try focusing your attention outside of the body sometime too, you know, because you seem to have all kinds of body energy. So I would say put it somewhere else. You know, put it in the corner. Put a black dot on the ceiling. You know, whatever. You know.
kind of direct out at something. Yeah.
Candle flame, whatever, you know, do your whatever you're going to do, rather than working with body all the time.
The guidance I was getting recently is to work on the heart space. I kept going, I've been bombarded for us the last few days about focusing open this heart space stuff. That's something that's alien to me. So I have been looking into it and trying to practice this.
You know, if you're going to try to put your confidence in your hand or your toe, like she was saying, a lot of times gathering it at the heart first. You know, gather at the heart and then put it at your toe, or then put it at the dot on the ceiling. You know, or gather it at your, you know, inner screen. So your heart or your inner screen could be good gathering places. Then once you've gathered it, then you can then move on to the big toe.
I was going to start with the heart space, just to bring it to the center of the chest, the being part. That's where I was going to attempt. It keeps coming to me to do that, so I'm maybe just. It's a practice. It's something else I've got to learn. How to
work with the heart. Think of like a favorite pet or something where you really had love, you know, unconditional love. You know, even if it was a favorite pet or something like that, you know, just get you into that vibe, sort of.
Right. So trying to create the emotion.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah. You work with the heart a little bit more emotional, a little bit more of a love feel, try to be in love with the world, you know, and all that. Think of that critter you really loved or whatever, you know. And
yeah, my kids do that. I do it with my kids all the time. I get that all the time. Like, I just think of it and I'll have that feeling, you know. So what you do, you just kind of creating that feeling in and it's just kind of trying to energize that. Is that
I wouldn't try to energize it. I'd just try to move it.
Yeah.
You know, move it to your toe or move it to the dot on the ceiling. You know, once you got a consciousness that's focused, then move that focus somewhere else.
Yeah. Have a go at that when we get off. I'll do that tonight and tomorrow. I'll have a try it. I'll play around with it, try and put emotions and
if you're not feeling emotional, then try to, you know, put it here instead. You know, if you want a more blank situation, you know.
Yeah. I've got problems with emotions. That's that's probably why it keeps telling me to go there, because I've got problems with that. I can shut that down quick. I've got problems that way. Yeah, I've got some work.
Yeah, probably is it too.
How does this help get us out of body?
Yeah, I think getting out of the body focused too much can be a anchor sometimes rather than a.
Well, here we've come here to talk going out of body. That's what the conversation is about. And so I'm wondering how what we're talking about now will help us get out of body.
And at least I focus on one part of the body to get my focus out of the body. Kind of going that way. These are just kind of blocks for me mostly to get to that state. Maybe other people have the same blocks, who knows. Maybe too body centered to actually get out of the body. Something like that, maybe.
Well, as you know, the phrase "out of body" is just a colloquial term. You know, really, what we're doing is, as the article I posted saying, is going out of phase with this physical space. It's like turning the dial from channel 3 to channel 5.
That's really what my
the signal is just slightly altered and a new station comes in.
When I was having those real strong daydream experiences, it's kind of what it was like. You know, I'm just over there. I'm doing something tedious with my hands or whatever. That doesn't take any brain power. And all of a sudden I'm over somewhere else. I'm thinking about something. I'm even conversing with somebody over there. And I don't even realize it's anything unusual or different until I snap back all of a sudden. It hasn't happened to me for a while, but that seems to happen in a group. You know, I've I'll have experiences like that for a while, and then I won't have them for a while.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that everybody here is pretty satisfied just with their current practices and maybe entertaining the idea of out-of-body experience, but not practicing for it. It doesn't seem like we're in the space where we're ready to begin practicing for it yet. This is the group that everybody seems to have wanted to congregate in, though, and so I'm curious why.
I think we all want to get out of the body. I don't know if we all. I don't know if the
Want to
same
work
technique.
for
I
it?
don't think the same technique is necessarily. If you tell everybody to do technique A, religiously at 9 o'clock every day, and for 5 hours every day, I don't know if it's going to work for everybody. I think everybody needs a different
Well,
approach.
We've
all
never
got-
talked about techniques, and there's a reason why we've never talked about techniques.
Yeah, I even suggested that once that we collect techniques just as a whiteboard or something, collect all the different techniques and then maybe talk about why they are good or bad later. Just have a summary.
Techniques are a dime a dozen. What we're talking about is actively practicing with the specific purpose of having a conscious OBE. And this is not a technique. A practice itself is not a technique. It means I'm going to sit here and I'm going to lay here and I'm going to practice staying awake while my body goes to sleep. Period. That is not a technique. That's just simply what happens. When you keep your mind awake, your body goes to sleep and you find yourself somewhere else. That's not a technique.
Then again, not every technique works. Well, not every way works for everybody because I can't sleep on my back.
When you practice, you want to be in a comfortable position that allows you to take attention off the body. So sure, you wouldn't want to put yourself into any position that would put more attention on the body. So find a comfortable position, and whatever that's going to be. Somewhere other than the place where you go to sleep. There's just one technique that most people practice, and it's not even a technique when it's just a way of life. That's the wake back to bed. So you intentionally bring yourself a little more alert into the brainwave cycles that you're in as you're in the wake state, which is the, mild theta and mostly alpha waves. And, keeping yourself there while in physical space for a short period of time, because then when you close your eyes, you're just there. It's so fast. Or can be. But yeah, Anton, we're not talking about techniques here. We're talking about practicing. We're talking about doing the work, putting in the hours. Very different than techniques. I hope that's clear. And even more so, we're talking about potentially, practicing this as a group. As a practice group. But again, it doesn't seem to me that anyone here has the time or energy or inclination right now to do the work, to do the practice. And so I'm wondering why we've all chosen to meet in the OBE Zoom room. Somebody help me out with this. Tell me your feelings.
So for me, what happened is that somewhere along the way, I kind of lost the focus on the OBE itself, and I focused on the practice that I can do. So I was thinking, okay, so if I do this practice every day, then I am used to practicing something, and then I can get into the practice of doing the OBE or any other practice. But so what happened in the last 2 months is just everything just shifted enormously in the daily life. So the practices also kind of got swooped under the carpet with that. And also because the physical body is so tired because of sleeping less and everything. Also waking up back to bed doesn't work. It either keeps me awake for 3 hours, so I'm in bed up completely, or I'm the body is so tired that I just fall asleep, back to sleep, and then so somewhere in there it was just, yeah, so the practice was lost. I think that was more my where my focus went.
But is the desire for the experience still present?
Yes.
How present? How much is this something that you each want?
Very much, and in the same time what's happening in the daily life is just completely in another direction. So I'm like, I can either go with the flow of the daily life, or I can try to keep the practice alive and to go into that direction. But it's like at the moment it's just very confrontational with each other. So.
Or we could see the common ground. There's going to be an overlap in what's happening in the life right now and your desire to have conscious out-of-body experience. If the desire is somewhat high, if it's lukewarm, if it's fallen down into lukewarm, something that's in the background for now, then no, there won't be much overlap. But let me ask, is that desire in the background for you each for now, or is it squarely in the foreground, even though there seem to be other things in the way, other things happening?
For me, the desire is quite high. I'm thinking about it every day, and I'm thinking, how is it possible? But at the moment, so like I said, just the rhythm is completely thrown because maybe you know, but we were homeschooling, and now all of a sudden Victor is going to school 5 days a week. And so the sleep patterns are different. The food pattern, I have to bring him and come back, and we wake up at different, like we have to shift everything with 4 hours, and it's like complete chaos. And the school is good, and in the same time his experience is very intense, and I have to be more with him, more present, and more conversations, and so that's and probably that's going to get a rhythm at one point. So I will have these hours alone at home without him, but it's like at the moment it's not, and I still think about it every day. So yeah, the desire is high for me.
So the desire is high. James?
It just comes down to your definition of what your out of body experience is for me, because I want to experience more. So no matter what I do with myself, I'm going to be out of my body regardless of how you determine it. So yes, out of body, I just don't understand what the experience would be. I want to experience my source and my guidance and stuff, but not localized like this. You know, so that would be out of your body, but out of your mind more for me. So yeah, I'm not to get there. I've got the sensations and the energies to go. So yeah, it is there. It's just what you're defining as an out of body experience, maybe perhaps. I want more than that.
For you, the energy is that we've not had a conscious out-of-body experience yet, right?
Like this, no. When I was younger, yes, but not like this, no.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, so just from when you were younger, but not as the person you are today.
No.
Your older person has not had a conscious out-of-body yet. Okay. And so I think that might be part of the energy there in itself too. Once you do, I will tell you the energy will not let you do anything but want to explore that more, because it's incredible.
No, but I do. I
When
want to
it's
experience
experienced,
much more.
when it's experienced, I'm going to say full body. So I know I experience out of bodies differently than other people do who experience them more solely as point consciousness, which is amazing too. Don't get me wrong. It's just not as amazing as experiencing a full body. You know, during the first years of my conscious OBE, the vibrational state itself was present with me in all of the experiences. And it's how I was able to read all the waves. You know, without that, it was more mundane. It's still amazing, you know, still very teaching you that reality isn't quite what we think it is, that there's more to it than what we realize, and all of that. And so all of that is amazing, and that effect, you know, settles into the physical system and invokes change here in our Earth life system. And so all of that's really well and good. But yeah, the most amazing thing for me is when it's full body, when the vibrational state is fully present in these out of body states. Before I go off too much on me, let me complete here with Anton. Where are you, Anton? Are you actually wanting to have conscious OB? Is that something that's fallen into the background, or is it something that's very much still in the foreground?
It's always in the foreground. On the other hand, I'm a little bit jaded because I've been trying all my life, basically, since, you know, my 20s. For most of my life, I've been trying to have an OB, frankly.
Okay, so there's a lot of energy in which there hasn't been success, and that's created a sort of drag.
I wouldn't say I've had, wouldn't say I haven't had OBEs, but they're not in the kind of a conscious transition into an OBE, no.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, that gives me a much clearer picture. I'm going to not really proceed with that. I'm going to let that seep in here and see what we can devise.
You know, the other little thing I want to say is I've been so long, you know, I did 2 videos on fear and how fear stops you and everything else. And there's a type of fear that's not even really a scaredy fear. It's more of a reactionary fear. And that's gotten me a couple times where I've gotten so close. Mm-hmm. And then that's happened and kind of like knocked me out of it. And then it's even tough to even get back to there in future practice, seems like. So there's some kind of inner thing going on there too, in terms of, you know, reaction.
How might we
against
How might we work with that to have a more successful experience of it on our part? Do something you're afraid of. Do something you're afraid of. Prove to yourself it's going to be okay. When I would get kicked out of my experiences, I think I've told you this story because it's the most prevalent one in my awareness. But one night I was, you know, in the OBEs with the ETs, and I kept coming across things that were shocking me clean back out into my bedroom. And I would just jump myself right back up and right back in. I would be, no. Because the second we succumb to the fear, you know, we don't throw ourselves right back in. You know, it's like falling off a horse. If you don't get right back on, you're afraid of horses now for the rest of your life. You know, that actually is a very real phenomenon. And we shouldn't let that embed into our biology. You know, so I would say do something you're afraid of.
And of course, a lot of this is an unconscious reaction rather than a conscious reaction, you know.
Yes, but do something different. Push your limits. Don't stay in comfort zones. You know, this is how we get lazy. Don't let yourself be too comfortable. No change happens in that. You know, I just want to keep everything just like it is. This is how I like it. Keep yourself at least slightly on edge. You know, slightly on the threshold of something new. You know, almost always. I'm going to make a suggestion. And I hope each and every one of you take this suggestion. It's something that nobody likes to hear about. Nobody likes the thought of doing. It's not going to hurt anyone and will only ever help. I want you to go take a cold shower. Turn that water all the way to cold, turn that water on and go, woohoo! Literally. Get your juju's running again. Prove to yourself that you are strong. Prove to yourself that you can overcome things like sensations you don't think you can. So this is a good one for everybody. It will invigorate you. It will get things flowing again. And then after you take that cold shower, the next day I want you to think to yourself, cold shower, and see what your body response is to that idea. And if it's a not pleasant one, if it's a fear-based one, or a shying away from that one, get right back in. As you're in the cold shower, I'm going to tell you everything's going to change, and you're going to be like, why have I not been doing this my whole life? You know, and that's what you'll be thinking once you've acclimated to the sensation of the cold water, because it's amazing, literally amazing. When you get out, you're feeling really good. I mean, but then the next day, when you think about, hitting that cold all of a sudden again, you get that response, and that's the time to get right back in.
I do that quite often. And I also do winter sea dips. That's also very interesting. Yeah. Everybody's like on the beach, what is she doing?
And now don't just do this, do it as a formal practice. And do it anytime you think that you're having some sort of degrading effect based on a fear-based response you had, to something like Anton just said. Okay, it will reverse what was embedding in your biology. It will help you. It's amazing. How about a cold shower? Help me get out of bed. But when you work it in this way, specifically in this way, get in the cold shower, experience it, and the next day think of a cold shower. And the moment you get that response that, shying away from, and I don't want to do that, get right back in there. It's important to be worked in exactly this way. And you're getting yourself back in there, so that you don't let a negative experience embed into your biology that isn't even really there. Because that when you were in there the day before, it started feeling good. That when you got out, you felt rocking. You felt like you were alive. You felt like you had some energy. You felt like you were flowing, And so that not everything is just that initial, little ding you get there. The rest of it was actually really pleasant, and you just need to prove that to yourself again and again and again until you've got it down. Yeah. Let me know if you do.
I'll let you know how that goes.
Yes, definitely let me know how it goes. Talk to me. Let's talk about the talk board for a minute before we close. Does everybody get the idea of the talk board? I know that not everybody has a lot of time, but does everybody get the idea of the talk board? To talk to each other? Like not just leave logs or drop things, but to talk to each other? Yeah?
I'm not sure that I found my thing in it, because yes, talk board, but where and how, and we have to post something, of course, but then I'm not so sure how to use it yet.
I think that you can use the everyday sacred form we just created very well. Yeah, I think that might be a home for you there. And I love your gratitude post from today, by the way. Chills. Thank you for that. But yeah, it's a place for us to talk to each other. I mean, we can write articles and post them, and we can do our journals, but the rest is to dialogue with each other, to talk with each other, to hang out. A part of this is, keeping the energy alive too, keeping the light alive, keeping the flame stoked, keeping our attention on the ball, on consciousness exploration, and all that includes. You will find that once we begin, and we're not really yet talking with one another. I do a lot of talking just out loud, but we don't do a lot of talking with each other, and that includes, asking for other people's impressions, so not just posting something. Remember to say, hi, everyone. Anton here. I was running this idea earlier, and close off with, what are your thoughts? Something like that. Open it up to dialogue. Yeah, this is a part of the practice. Talking with each other. Yeah, and learning how to dialogue on these matters, how to draft these ideas that are often so vague, out into words. How to express this. And it is work at first. It's a lot of work at first. It's a lot of work always. But it's well worth it to bring what is in you out onto the page, out into the world. And then to look at that thing and say, what would you guys do with all that? Yeah, it's all of this will help. Talking about out-of-body experience is one really great thing that will lead to out-of-body experiences. Okay. What else does anybody want to talk about before we head out? We got about 10 minutes.
I think about last time when we talked about using the templates. It's not that easy for me. I mean, I'm all the time in other templates, but to be just completely in somebody else's template, it's very complicated even for me, which I am in other people's templates all the time, but not completely. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's an out-of-body experience. It's a very specific type of out-of-body experience where you're going to go into the Akash, or what I call the blueprints. And then you're going to go into somebody's specific blueprint. Yeah, and then you're going to go into that blueprint and access their cleared neural pathways, So you're just going to bring to mind their skill, and it'll automatically rework through your system. And then you might, in that experience, actually get an experience of being able to do that, like I did when I merged with Christine. So yeah, anytime you guys want to talk more about that, let me know. We don't have time today to go into that again as a topic, but bring it to the next room. So far, this is the only room left. So all of the others are by request only. And this is the only one regularly scheduled each week. So homework, the cold shower, and the working it in the way that we stated. Talking with each other on the chalkboards. Laying down or reclining in a recliner or any comfortable position you so choose to consciously practice going into the mind awake, body asleep state. Making observations and again citing, documenting those observations when you come back to physical space. There was another one and it's gone out my mind. So there was a lot of potential homework here in this talk.
I think it was about opening a new talks about our own subjects, the things that we are.
Yes, opening up dialogues of your own. Yeah, you're more apt to go visit them if it's something you begin than if it's something that I've begun. So let it be of a subject of interest to you, of something that you're working with, trying to figure out, wanting to share, wanting to expand upon. Yeah, and I'll go and expand upon it with you. But you have to be really specific with me. Remember, it's a talk board. Like Ioana discovered that I didn't know unless she wrote down the words that she was getting outside of the what we call the continuum, but specifically the 3D Earth life continuum. You actually it's funny when you're on a talk board because you think that everybody just knows what it is you're thinking. Got to put the words down there. I've been doing the talk boards now for 12 years. That was so frustrating to me, like for the first 7 years. And I would talk every day on the talk boards, on my teacher's yoga boards. And it was just so frustrating. I'm like, don't you know me by now, guys? No, each and every time you have to write it down. I mean, people have busy lives. They have other people in their lives. They come to your post and all they have is the words that are right there in your post. So you have to remember to write them down. It's an excellent practice. And I think at you in particular, James, and Anton will go far with that. Ioana is already fairly accustomed to journaling out longhand, and things. But again, doing it as a group, talking with one another, this is what takes it to the next level. And this can be a fear response too. Oh, I already know what they're going to say. They're just going to tell me something that's not going to help. Like, because people generally tend to reply in a similar way. You already know what different people are going to say when you say something. But putting yourself in the position of opening something up is the point. And again, keeping our eye on the ball. The more we talk about out-of-body experiences, the more likely we are to have out-of-body experiences. Keeping that concept at the front of the attention.
Yeah, I'm just a loner. I've just been myself for so many years. I struggle to speak or talk or chat. Or even though I come on here and do this, but that's a lot for me to come and do in the first place. I normally don't talk. I keep that to myself. I struggle with it, to be honest.
But that's what will take you to the next level. Me too, James. You're not alone in that. It was work for me to come out and learn how to talk to people. And then to be comfortable enough to be myself, to be who I am and say what I would say, that takes braveness, and you work those energies and you feel more comfortable and you get out there, and so much happens in all of that. When I was just by myself, I was only ever going to get so far. You can only get so far alone. That is the personal field. That is your lucid or dream space, your private area. Sooner or later, you have to come out to consensus to actually experience anything more. And this is one way to begin to enact that right here in our space. And a talk board is not so scary. It's certainly not as scary as face-to-face is for most people. And so practicing there is a good way to practice coming out into consensus. we talk about wanting to exceed our own personal reality bubbles. Well, we have to put in the work. We have to go outside of it, into consensus where the other people are and begin engaging. Yeah. And then we get good at it. Just like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And it doesn't mean you don't have your private time. You still do. You'll still have plenty of private time. I would only encourage you, of course, I'm not demanding. That was supposed to be funny.
It was.
Thank you. I can be demanding in my encouragement, can't I? That's because I want so much for us. And now, and I know that each and every one of you do also, you feel that impetus. You want it now. So let's start putting in the work, putting in the hours now. That way, next year, when we're sitting here with 4,700 others, because we will have grown by then, we're going to all be in a much greater place. We won't still be sitting right here where we are right now, still saying the same thing, right? Let's grow.
Better not me.
Let's grow. You got to put in the hours, got to put in the work. Let's do it. Yeah, let's stop paying attention to old programs that say I'm a loner, I don't want to do it, it's uncomfortable. Again, do what's uncomfortable. Don't stay in that comfort zone. Do something different, do something new.